I have always looked at my job. I do a radio morning show for those of you that don't know, if you're just stumbling by this, but I've always looked at my job as a storyteller, okay? Or most of the time, I look at myself as a story collector. I like going around town and seeing different things and looking at stuff and seeing what I could bring to the world, who I could talk to people privately about in a maybe a social situation or maybe on the radio whatsoever. But I kind of believe that I'm getting fairly good at it, and it does take a while to learn. And I want to help you guys out today and just give you the first little bit of how to get started at telling a real good story. I believe that storytelling is going to be super important as we move on in life with AI taking over everything. And it's like there's no connections. People are just I'm looking at AI as this could be a real tragic, horrible situation. Although I do use AI in a lot of situations, but I do think when it comes to personal interactions, there's going to be less and less and less of it. People are watching fake things all the time, and we already were anyway. But being a good storyteller isn't just for writers or for those of you out there that are content creators, although what I'm about to tell you is definitely going to help you. It's good to get a date. It's good on job interviews. It's really good in social situations. And the art of storytelling is super important. It really is. If you're on your phone all day, like I was talking about, you're watching other people's lives, and you're going to lose your mind eventually. You're going to lose an idea of who you truly are, what is important to you. Now, it's not easy. I'll tell you that. It does take practice, but if you get good at it and you get consistent about it, it definitely is life-changing. All right? Now, here we go. I'm always looking how I can give back to others, how I can help others. I really like doing that. I love seeing other people succeed. And I wrote this book, some of them you're going to hear about right now, about storytelling. It will be available on Amazon. It should be there right now. The only problem is I have not hit publish on the book yet. The reason why, and this is a little ironic, I don't have a title for it yet. I do not have a good title for my storytelling book. So if you could think of a good title, please leave it right here in the comments, because I'm dying to find the right title and then hit publish for the book. But I'm going to include some of these brush strokes that I'm doing right now. This is part of my YouTube challenge that I've given myself to go live every day. Now, part one, let's do it, okay? I got to tell you, you are already a really good storyteller, maybe even a great storyteller. Even if you think you suck, you've done it. You've already told great stories, right? You've got out of a speeding ticket, possibly. You probably did that. Maybe you got out of work. You had to call in sick for work, and you wanted to get out of that. Maybe you're a parent and you had to try to talk your kid into eating broccoli or something like that, or an oyster, something like that. Those are stories. These are all stories. Getting out of a speeding ticket, story. Getting somebody to eat broccoli, that's a story. All these things are story. Getting somebody to date you, even though you live in your mom's basement, story. Huge story, but still, it's a story. All right? Like I said, if you're a parent, you're already spinning stories just to keep your little kids alive. Don't touch that fire. Last time I saw that, Eddie blew up. I see parents doing that stuff all the time, and I laugh because I know they're full of crap. But if you want to crush it in a creative career, if you want to crush it in social situations, or being better at parties, or coming out of your shell, you better learn to make your words hit like fireworks, all right? You just better do that. Or you better enjoy watching somebody else get the job or somebody else get the chick, because you don't know how to read a room. If you practice what I'm about to tell you, I left a little guideline here. If you're going to practice what I'm about to tell you, you are going to get good at it. And you're going to get good at it quick the more you practice. In fact, you're going to love how you can see people's moods change, how you can make people laugh, how you can make people think, how you can make people cry, whatever you're going to love. It's kind of a powerful thing. And it makes you feel like you got this unfair advantage because you know how to tell a story. What is a story? Let's get into this first part right now. It's the anatomy of a killer story. A good story is kind of like a great one-night stand. You know, it kind of shows up uninvited. It grabs your attention. It keeps things exciting, keeps you guessing, gets you turned on a little bit. And you may need a shot afterwards, depending on how good the one-night stand is. But I'm going to break it down for you right now, all right? It needs a relatable hero. Every story needs a relatable hero, and usually that story is you. Usually you are the star of these stories. Nobody cares about perfect people. Nobody does. They are annoying. They suck. They're boring. We want a flawed hero. We want somebody more like us. All these people, and I know plenty of them, that are even in the business of telling stories that want to make themselves look like they are George Clooney or somebody else like that, when we all know you're not. Okay? Stop lying to people. But a flawed hero is so much more entertaining than somebody who thinks that they got life, handled. All right? So and that person is you. It really is. You are the person who screws up, the person who doubts themselves, the person who's kind of weird, but they're at the party anyway. They know they're weird, and everyone's looking at that person going, they're weird. How many times have you been to a party when you said, God, I wonder what that dude's all about? Those are the interesting people. I'm not saying you have to be weird. You just have to be aware of this, okay? And if you don't think that that's what it is, if you think you're not weird, if you don't think that you've got these quirky things about yourself, you're absolutely lying to yourself. You got to own your flaws. You have to own your flaws. Chances are your flaws are hilarious. I've got so many that I just make fun of nonstop. And, and I don't share them all on the radio. I don't share them with everybody. I share them with my wife because we love laughing at each other's flaws. I mean, and just how dumb we are and how the responses we give or whatever. And I'm sure if you're in a relationship, you do that a lot. What I'm saying about Sherry and I is not special. We all do it. We all do it for a laugh. We want the people who are going to be embarrassed, who are a mess. People love that. All right. So that's it. Next, there needs to be something to lose or something to gain in a story. I'm going to give you an example here in a minute. All right. But if there's no stakes at all, nobody cares. Just like a boring person, nobody cares. I went to the store. So what does that mean? I went to the store in a robe because I saw something on the internet and I thought the world was ending. So I ran to get the last thing of milk. I mean, that's a better story. That is something right there that has a little bit of some stakes involved, Now you got my attention when you're telling a story like, you went to the store in a robe? What are you talking? What? I'm listening to this. It makes you got to make the stakes clear. What could go wrong in your storytelling and what you're telling people? What could be won? What could go right? Where's there a lesson to be learned? The next thing is conflict, okay? A story without conflict is basically just a report. It's nothing. And conflict comes in many different forms and fashions, Conflict is that embarrassing moment that happens, the screw-ups, the fight, the chase, the tension, all that kind of stuff. And if your story doesn't have any of that, like I said, it's not a story, okay? Now, once you have all of that, you need the payoff. That's the last thing. You need a payoff, the boom, the punchline. We all know what the payoff is, okay? If there's no payoff and you do all those things that I just mentioned, you're never going to get invited anywhere. They're going to go, this guy just yammers on and on and on. There's no payoff at all. No one's going to want to work with you. Nobody's going to want to date you. You're just the most boring person in the world. So let's go through this. We got the hero, usually you. We got stakes. What could be won? What could be lost? We got the conflict. What's going to happen? Is something horrible going to happen? Is something good going to happen? Are they going to lose their leg? Whatever. And then the payoff is we find out at the end what really happened. Okay. Now, I want to try this with you guys right now. Okay. If you want to rewatch this, just take out a pen and paper real quick. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time here. Okay. But what's the most mind-numbingly, most boring thing that you saw this week or you did this week? Okay. Think about it. What's the most dumb, boring thing you did this week? And we're going to turn it into an epic story. Okay. And you're going to have to go back and do this. But I went to Target. Let's try this. I went to Target. What's happening there? Nothing, right? I went to Target. Well, I went to Target to buy toothpaste. And I ended up getting into this silent battle between the last tube of toothpaste sitting on the shelf between me and this other dude. We were staring at each other. I could tell he wanted it. He could tell that I wanted the toothpaste. We didn't speak. But like I said, I saw that look in his eyes and he wanted it. And his breath looked bad too and all that kind of stuff. But luckily, somebody on the other aisle dropped something and he kind of diverted his attention. So I reached over and I grabbed that tube of toothpaste and then I ran off thinking that I was the big hero here. I got it. I didn't have to have any fight with the guy or anything like that. So I go to check out with the toothpaste and there was no price on the toothpaste at all. There wasn't a price listed, so they're doing check toothpaste at R5. It wasn't even in a box, so they ended up taking the toothpaste from me, and I had to walk out of there with nothing. Okay, that is how you turn it into a story. Just something simple as that. Okay, now it's your turn. I know you're not going to do this live right now, but pick something you did and write that boring version first, okay? Then add the hero, which is usually you being flawed, being relatable, being vulnerable. You hear that term a lot, but this is where you get the opportunity to learn how to be that type of person. Then add the stakes. What could go wrong? What could go right? What were you going for? Why did you need the toothpaste? I needed the toothpaste in that story because I thought the world was going to end or whatever. You need the conflict. All right. What makes that story tense? What makes the story ridiculous? And then the payoff. What's the twist? Did it end funny? Was it a sad ending? Did you give us a lesson? It's very, very simple. And if you want some bonus points when you're writing this down on yourself, if you're a creator out there, you need to learn to tell stories better. Everybody needs to learn them better. I'm telling you, it will enhance your life in every single level. Now, for the bonus point, let's try embarrassing ourselves, which I believe is one of the hardest things for anybody to do. I know a lot of people. I even work with some people that don't want to embarrass themselves too much. Nobody wants to look bad all the time. You don't want to be the buffoon all the time. But, let's see here. Okay, let's do a boring version. Let's walk you through one more of these things. All right. I wrote down an example. I tripped on the sidewalk yesterday. That's all I wrote down. That's the boring version. So let's try to turn this in using all of those four things that I just mentioned. All right. There's a formula here. All right. I was walking down the street. I was feeling super good about myself. I had my favorite sunglasses on. I was standing a little taller. I was feeling really good. I had a light lunch, and I was full of confidence. I felt like I was kind of the star of my own movie, and I'm walking around, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I tripped over absolutely nothing. I looked back. It looked like there was nothing there. It looked, I must have tripped over air or something like that. But not only did I fall, on my way down, I made the bitchiest sound anybody has ever made. Okay? I sounded like a cross between a wolf and a girl I was like, I didn't know what was going down. I made this noise, this really strange noise on my way down. And I noticed that a pretty attractive woman saw me fall and do it. We made eye contact, but she was on her phone and she was talking to somebody else, but she saw me do it. I could see her muffling in her phone and everything else. I wanted to disappear. So I got up as fast as I could. I started to jog away, or then I started to limp a little bit because it hurt a little bit. And I was like limping away on the wrong foot. I think I was doing it on the wrong foot. And then I see the girl talking into her phone, and I know she was making fun of me. Now, why does that little story work, and why is that story better than I just went to whatever? Because there were stakes, right? There was a hero. The hero's me, but I'm flawed. The hero was me. The stakes were basically my dignity. I didn't want to look stupid in front of a good-looking girl. The conflict was basically gravity and my pride. I didn't, God, nobody wants that. Everybody's looking to look like they're a star in their own movie. And the payoff was the girl laughing at me, telling her friend that this dork just fell down and sounded like a bitch when he was falling to the ground. All right. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, everybody, okay, when it comes to storytelling. All right. In my next video, I've decided I'm going to go through a bunch of these when I'm doing this thing that I've got going on my YouTube challenge here. So I decided I'm going to help you through a lot of this, all right? Because I know a lot of you want to be better storytellers, and I'm going to do this, all right? But the next part we talk about is about finding your own unique voice, which is not an easy thing. And it's especially hard when you want to find your unique voice without sounding like a total douchebag. We will do that on the next one. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Let me check the chat, see if anybody was even in there. Let's see here. Hello, everybody. Good to see you guys. Hey, Zach and Russell and Mike. Sorry I didn't have the chat on. Hi, Stacy. Nice to see you. I wanted to get through that as best I could with you guys. But thank you so much for this. If you think that this helps any of you, if this could help somebody you know, please share this video with them, because I really believe that storytelling is a real lost art, and it is an art, and it's something that's easily done. I know that I rattled a lot of this stuff off the top of my head. That's only because I've been doing it for a long time. You could do little shorter versions and start little ways to do it. Chances are you're already doing this anyway, and you don't even know it. You just need to realize what kind of power you truly have right there being a good storyteller. Thanks, guys.